Hello everyone, Happy New Year and welcome to another video of Joseki. So last time we talked about enclosure and different philosophies between different types of enclosures. Today we'll be covering the small night enclosure. So this enclosure has been played for a very long time before AI came out, and it was like the textbook enclosure that everybody plays back then. So a lot of theories have been developed during that time regarding this enclosure. Lots of them are eliminated these days because of AI. So I will present you some of the, I guess, a mixture of some of the good old theory, as well as some of the AI stuff, but mostly the AI stuff that is more or less, I wouldn't say correct, but more accurate than the human understanding. So if you remember from last video, we talked about some of the concerns for this kind of enclosure. The first one is for white to make a shoulder hit. This is probably where things gets most tricky, mostly because of the follow-ups. So let's start with this one. Black's correct move is to play the push, right? You can also play this one, but then white's gonna follow up with this. I think this is also an okay position for both sides. And there's just not much to talk about. If black wedges and connects, we have a very standard move to fix that. So white is able to suppress black's corner onto the third line. So before, the enclosure has some sort of influence towards the outside, and then white is able to eliminate all that potential in a very efficient way. So I personally think it's playable for both sides, and I'd say it is easier, a little bit easier to manage for black, especially you are in the beginner to intermediate level player. But overall, this is a equal position because white's moves has quite a bit of a say on the outside. So as black, you can play like this. It should, on the AI, it probably says, hey, this is not the best move for black. But I mean, for human players, it really doesn't make a difference. So if you like to play like this, very solid move, you can choose to play this way. According to AI, a better move is to push at p16. White can tanuki right now. That's no problem. White can just go ahead and play somewhere else. White's follow-up is to play the jump locally. Against this move, black needs to tanuki, right? So black can right now just follow up with some other moves. Whatever Joseki you like, you can play those. So for example, if black plays a move outside, it is very important for white to know what to do after this, right? If you don't know what to do after this shoulder hit and jump, it's kind of meaningless, right? So I'd rather you not play these moves that you don't understand in a game. So the follow-up here is it's probably less known by general public. And it's a move that I've learned from watching a game of my friend online, and I think she was she's about 7 dan, and then she was playing against someone who used this move. We don't know if that guy was using AI or something like that, but the next move is to attach at R15. This is a move that definitely came out because of AI. So against this move, it is extremely difficult to deal with. So for a lot of players, maybe your first instinct is just to descend, making sure that your corner is solid. But turns out this exchange is extremely favorable for white. First of all, it's a third line exchange versus second line exchange. Secondly, white's stone are all towards the outside, and they're very efficient. Looks like there's some weaknesses, but they're extremely light, so they can white can right now just play somewhere else. What's even better for white is there's a follow-up locally. White can just play a tiger's mouth to make this shape a lot more efficient. To make this group a lot stronger, I would say. And it has a influence towards everywhere on the board. So this is quite annoying position for black to be in. As we can tell, black's stones are all sticking to each other, and it doesn't look very efficient for black. So as amateur level players, it shouldn't affect your win rate. It shouldn't, not your win rate, but it shouldn't affect your win or loss in the game. But I'd say try to not enter this type of position, because you can easily fall behind in terms of development in the early game as black. The correct move here is a very strong counter attack that clamps at R14. So against this move, white only has two choices. One is to descend, and obviously this doesn't work because black's going to cap white inside here, and then all what white can do is to crawl on the second line. So this is not going to work. So white's only choice is to extend on top. Black follows up by pushing here. White has no choice but to turn here. And then after a couple of exchanges, here white's probably does not want to extend anymore, because after this, black can extend, secure the corner, and then also there's a tremendous influence towards the left. White needs to cover, basically break the corner and then claim the territory. And then black transfers the profits towards the outside by playing like this. After which, white is going to Atari. And this is more or less the end of the Joseki, or end of the variation that is correct for both sides. So this is more or less a very unknown variation. I mean, I was checking with AI during the holidays, and I figured this out. But before that, I had no idea this is the way that both sides should play out. So the result of this is black has tremendous influence towards the outside, and then there seems to be some weaknesses here, but white can not really take advantage of. If you play out like this, because the ladder does not work, if white blocks this side, black is gonna Atari, and then there is a extension here. So there's a miai, right? We can clamp on the second line, and we have a ladder. So if you try to kill, I can ladder you. If you break the ladder, I can clamp the two stones. So this fight is not gonna work for white. Which means white does not have much to do. If you Atari from this direction, there's just not much result you can bring to the table. So both sides kind of leave it there, and white is able to gain the territory, and then black is able to develop on the outside. So more or less equal position for both sides. But it's extremely hard to know that this is the correct counterattack move. So more likely your opponent is going to play out this kind of position, in which case white is going to turn here. And this is a very good position for white to be in. Here black needs to act right now. If black plays somewhere else, white is able to Atari here, and then this thing becomes way too thick. This is a huge influence towards the outside. Black needs to take immediate action and cause some problems on the outside, and then that's just going to be a fight breaking out. White can block over here, and then the game goes on from here. There's insecurities for both groups, but the problem is black is also floating in the center, and that's just a very dynamic fighting game. So it looks like this is a very simple variation, but actually turns out to be quite complicated, especially because of this attach over here. And black really does not have great responses apart from clamping at R14. The second best is the one that I just talked about, right? This is also an okay variation, but not as good as the first one. Other variations such as descend, we've already talked about. If black plays out this one, white's gonna follow up, and this becomes very annoying. If black Ataris like this, white can turn in, taking advantage of the problems that black has over here. So the best move is probably for black to push and take, but then white can break into the corner. And this is also very, very dynamic, and it's very hard to manage for black actually. So I wouldn't play out like that as black. That's why this shoulder hit and jump seemed to be like, harmless, but the follow-up turns out to be especially strong and hard to deal with. And black needs to play very carefully to defend against the attach at R15. So that's the first variation about the enclosure. The second variation is very easy to understand, is when white attaches here. So for the same reason black does not want to extend up or descend, for the similar reason, right? This exchange is just slightly worse for black. This is a second line versus third line. But if you extend up, all your stones seems to be over concentrated. White can further take advantage of your over concentration, and then he can just go ahead and tenuki, and just seems to be a favorable exchange for white. Although, once again, I guess for people who are not at the professional level, this is not a big deal. That means you could play out like this in your actual game. That is no problem. The correct move is for black to hane, and then when white extends, black extends. When white turns, black extends up, and then white plays a 3-space extension, which later on has some weaknesses. Its formation can be further invaded later on, right? So I think like this is my recommendation for black, right? You have a enlarged solid corner, and you have a leak on the second line. So I think a lot of my viewers would actually like this position as black, especially with solid corner and the sente. We can immediately take more cash and play whatever we want. So that covers the two most worrisome variations from white. The other variation I want to talk about is the old stuff. So this used to be also a annoying move for black back in the days. And it was played a lot of times in professional games when AI was not out. So against this move, there are obviously a lot of theories. So I'm just gonna present to my viewers two of my recommended defense against this second line attach. The reason your opponent wants to attach you on a second line is to ask you a question. If you just stay safe and extend, white later on can hane and then just grab half of your corner, so you don't want those usually. But if you extend towards the outside, later on, depending on what happens, right? Let's say some exchanges happens, and then white is able to honey and descend, and this is a perfectly alive corner. There's no way that black can kill, because white can make a life like this, right? So this is also covered in one of my videos in the life and death. It's probably the first one of my life and death, so that's how you would play out if you want to lift the corner later on. So with a remaining corner, the potential of living a corner, it affects how white plays on the outside. So today I want to present you two very easy to manage and perfectly okay variations. Well, they both start with this honey here. By the way, if you play this one, white is going to clamp on the outside. Black's correct defense is connect. If you play this, this is actually a favorable position because black is just way too over concentrated. Black's correct move is to connect, and then white can just tanuki. So these two guys already served their purpose, that is to reduce the potential that black has. So you don't want that either, so the correct move for you is counterattack. So against this move, white's only move is the crosscut. If honey into the corner, that's not going to work because black can just extend up. If white tries to live, black can Kosumi here and then peep into the corner, and actually it's very hard for white to live in here because black can kill like this. So there might be some weaknesses on the outside, but I think at this point black can force the kill. So this is a very difficult fight for white actually. So usually white does not want to try this fight. It's too risky. He might just end up dying in the corner. Of course, if you play the Kosumi first, black can Atari the stone. When you try to get out, turns out there's no way to get out because black can cap you inside. Of course, white has probably this way of living, but that's just miserable. Black's gonna connect, and if white descends later on, this is a sente for black. Well, basically like this, right? So white has to live like this. It's just miserable, and then black's influence is just too much. So that's why this honey on the inside is a mistake. The correct move is for white to crosscut. Against this crosscut, black's first brilliant idea is just to capture the stone, right? We capture whatever we can capture. Atari, black connects, Atari again, and the black just takes. That's fairly straightforward. Black protects entire corner by capturing one stone, so very solid, nothing wrong with it. And then white probably later on will follow up with a shape move. That is the big knight at p13. So that will just be a very solid game for black, right? Black has the sente, and then he can play somewhere else. And he has cash on hand. So I really recommend this variation for my viewers who like the territory, who likes to play solid. If you're more of an attacker, or if you have been inspired by my attacker series, hopefully so, you can extend towards the outside. This is also a brilliant move. White Ataris, black extends, white pushes. Black's correct move is to descend once more. Blocking here would be a big mistake because white can Atari 2 times and then capture your stone. That's a terrible outcome for black. So black's correct move is to descend. If white follows up, black can start the attack with this jump move. So if you're more of an attacker, you can directly forge an attack onto white's stone. So you can make use of the principles I've talked about in attacker. You want to basically play moves in this direction to develop your left side while squeezing white towards the two stones that you have here. That's very strong. So let me show you what I mean. So let's say, for example, this was played out. You know, we can play out like this, right? So black is gonna work on the left side, and then white's making all these moves in the center that is not generating any points. So it's very easy for white to fall behind in terms of momentum and territory. So these two are my recommended variations against this crosscut. So one is just to answer everything that white does and remain very solid. The other one is to extend out and then letting white pierce through. Then once white happily pierces through, we can hop with one space extension and forge an attack onto white stones. And then it is very easy for us to actually gain some sort of momentum in the game. So I really like this variation for black as well. So you can try that out if you're a big fan of the small knight enclosure, of course. So we've covered a lot of variations about the small knight enclosure. It is not very popular these days. I think mostly because of the shoulder hit that white can play. But I think sometimes it's just more of a fashion thing, right? A lot of variations are still good. It's just out of fashion in today's Go game. But as amateur level players, I highly encourage you to still play out the small knight enclosure. And I guarantee you that your win or loss is not about what type of enclosure that you chooses. You know, and it's always fun to play things that is not like that's not trendy, like in today's world. So I mean, the game of Go is all about fun. So just try things out. And as long as you know how to defend your small knight enclosure, you can always play this one. There's no problem. All right, so thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.